Girard Perregaux invites you to discover the know-how and many professions brought together in its manufacture, established in La Chaux-de-Fonds, the heart of Swiss watchmaking. A manufacture product expresses the concept of global expertise attached to an object which becomes unique. This uniqueness, most clearly embodied by the tourbillon, is the testimony of the tradition and savoir-faire of those few watchmakers who possess the skill to create it. The manufacture houses dozens of specific skills in order to design, develop and manufacture a watch in its entirety. This means not only the movement, but the many other components too. To do this, Girard Perregaux has invested heavily in research and development, as well as in the production of a comprehensive portfolio comprising both simple and grande complication movements. The minimum time required to complete all the development phases of a new movement from conception to approval is 4 years. The 3 phases that mark and shape this development are governed by the key concepts of design excellence, performance and reliability. Collaboration between the various departments, between designers and engineers, makes it possible for all aesthetic and technical parameters of the future caliber, such as dimensions, display type and desired level of finish, to be precisely defined. The development work is carried out by a watchmaking engineer using 3-dimensional technology and software. The drawings for each component can then be sent to the laboratory, which is responsible for prototyping the future caliber. At least 20 prototypes are required to obtain confirmed results, based on statistical data. Once these have provided their final secrets and the necessary improvements have been made, the production process can begin. The first step in the production of an ébauche or movement blank is the machining stage, starting with a plate or bar of the material to be used. Each part then undergoes a series of transformations. Holes are bored or ground down to allow for very precise adjustment. And diamond machining operations are carried out in order to prepare the surfaces to the standards required for the finishing operations. Although machines play a key role in this stage, the expertise of the watchmakers and the work of the human hand are essential. Once machined and controlled, each component of the movement is ready to undergo a decoration or finishing operation. This procedure requires specific tools, as well as both modern techniques and traditional craftsman's techniques that complement each other and work in perfect harmony. The finishes guarantee the technical perfection of each component. Consider, for example, the Côte de Genève, mainly used on the oscillating weight, the bridges and the plate. They are achieved using a special rotating pad, which, when moved over the surface to be worked, creates a striped, brushed pattern that follows parallel or circular lines. Perlage is a decorative technique that consists of covering a surface with circles formed by concentric lines positioned very close together. This is carried out by hand. The watchmaker's tradition of decorating parts that are not visible is considered a mark of respect for the customer. When the components have been machined and decorated, assembly of the movement can begin. The painstaking work of the watchmakers is critical, and the many different operations are carried out by hand. To meet the highest quality and reliability criteria, the watchmakers use interactive workbenches that enable them to refer to the numerous standard assembly procedures. These specially designed workstations allow all 120 components of a GP 3000 caliber, for example, to be assembled and lubricated. Once assembled, the movements undergo a startup phase, where they will tick for the very first time. They are then adjusted before being subjected to a long series of tests, including the famous and highly demanding temperature tests. Only after they have successfully passed these tests are the movements transferred to the casing workshop. In addition to developing movements, and as part of its overall manufacturing approach, Girard Perregaux has set out to develop, test and produce habillage components, such as the case, the bezel, the crown and the bracelets. The design and aesthetics of Girard Perregaux's watches have always been a key concern. A sophisticated mechanism should be housed behind a correspondingly refined and befitting exterior. This principle has endured from the very beginning of the brand in 1791 to the latest creations, from the admirable inventions of Jean-François Botte or Constant Girard to the creative influence brought by Luigi Macaluso. When the designs are finalized, the technical department draws up the plans for the habillage components. Made from a variety of materials, the metal is machined using digitally controlled machinery within the Atelier Botte. A cutting tool removes turnings to mark out the contours and profile of the case before being carefully hand polished. At this stage, each component of the case, such as the bezel or the crown, can be set. The various parts that make up the case can then be assembled. As part of its global manufacturing strategy, Girard Perregaux pursues the integration of traditional craftsmen's techniques, one of which is enameling. The many enameling operations are carried out entirely by hand on a copper base. The technique requires the dial to be partitioned using tiny gold wires to enable the spaces to be enameled later with various different powders that are carefully selected, washed, then delicately applied. Many baking operations are required to ensure that the enamel adheres to the dial. The complexity of this traditional craft lies in the various baking stages required to fix the enamels. Enamel dials, which are highly fragile, are unique and rare pieces. Finally, all the watch components are ready to be assembled. The dial is precisely adjusted to the movement so that the hands can be fitted one by one. This timeless ritual is performed in a spotlessly clean environment and is completed when the case is fixed. The dexterity, experience, and meticulousness of the watchmakers is indispensable during these operations. Once completed, the watch undergoes a series of tests before it can leave the manufacturer. For the really good things in life, the most precious ones, the rarest, the authentically unique ones, all need time. These timepieces are the fruit of highly talented craftsmanship that is not guided by the rhythms of the markets alone, but rather the number of hours and attention to detail that are necessary to create a unique piece that is as close to perfection as is humanly possible.